A very warm welcome to today's show. My name is Sheila Juma, and you're watching the Virtuous Woman Show. We welcome you from wherever you're watching. I'm sure you've had a blessed and amazing Sunday. This show is going to be one peculiar show. We're going to be talking about the mother and daughter-in-law situation. We've had so many amazing success stories between a daughter and a mother-in-law, but some not so successful. And so we have a guest in studio today who is going to help us delve into this topic and find out how we can cultivate an amazing relationship with our mother-in-laws as women, and how we can, go about having a good relationship with them. And so in studio with me, I have an amazing, beautiful, as you're about to see, lady. She's going to introduce herself, and she's going to tell us more about herself and what she does. So karibu sana to the show.
Thank you, Sheila.
Go ahead, look at that camera and tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Grace Wangoi Moboko. I'm married and I have 2 sons, and I have a daughter-in-law. I'm also a psychological counselor, and at the same time I'm a mediator working with the law courts of Nakuru.
Amazing.
Thank
You are a psychological counselor.
Yeah.
Please tell us what that means.
A psychological counselor is a person who takes other people through an interactive situation whereby they come, maybe they have an issue that they want somebody to stand in between. So a psychological counselor comes to build them out in a way or the other.
All right,
Yeah.
amazing. I think this is the first time I'm meeting a psychological counselor, so this is amazing. So like I said, we're going to be talking about mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. You know, we've had so many dramatic stories from all these Nigerian movies, you see the drama that goes on, and these are real situations that people go through. So as yourself, you are actually a daughter-in-law to someone, right? Tell us how that relationship has been from the beginning with your mother-in-law.
Well, I would really want to say that my mother-in-law, though she rested,
All right.
she was a very good friend of mine. My mother-in-law had 12 children, and my husband is the 11th. So the relationship is deep. It was deep with my husband. And so when I realized how deep it was, I had no choice but also to make my relationship with her very deep.
So you had a good relationship
very,
with your
very good
mother-in-law.
relationship.
How was it when you were coming into the marriage, or when you were introduced to her as her potential daughter-in-law? How did she receive you?
Let me say, at first it was not very good. Just like any other mother-in-law, she had her fears, her insecurities. And this is the son that I think she loved most, because my husband is those quiet people, and also he's learned, and he has made her proud.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I realized that I had to be friends with her so that I can also make her relationship with my husband to continue being deep.
Right.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you managed to maneuver that situation and get her, to be friendly with you, and you had a good relationship with her at the end.
Yeah.
Great. And so you have 2 sons, one of which is married. How did you feel when your son brought you a lady? As a mother, you wanted to see your sons and your children succeed. So how did you feel when your son brought you someone that he wanted to marry?
Honestly speaking, I was very happy.
Wow.
Just as I've introduced myself, I'm a mother of 2 sons, so I don't have a daughter of my own. So when my daughter-in-law came, she was a blessing to me, and she is still a blessing to me, and we are very, very good friends. Because there's something I have realized in this life, that my daughter-in-law is my successor.
Yeah.
She will succeed me when I get old, and also she will be there to stand with me in times of trouble, because she's also another woman who will understand at least who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now she's the one who's taking care of your son, per se, right?
Yeah.
So you I'm sure you had that mentality of, because you've had with your mother-in-law a rocky start, you wanted to ensure that she had a good start with her mother-in-law, which is you, right?
Yeah.
Right. There are so many women who, like you, had a rocky start or are about to get married, and they don't know how to maneuver with their relationship with their potential mother-in-law. What is an advice you can give them to make them be able to have a good relationship with their mother-in-law as they start?
when you are a woman or you are a lady and you want to get married, just know there must be a mother-in-law somewhere.
Right.
And so you must get prepared to have a good relationship with this woman. So my advice is that every time a lady gets married to a man, just know that you'll meet the mother-in-law, and as you meet the mother-in-law, make sure that you have a good relationship, because this is now your second home.
Right.
This is your second home. Yeah.
You know, we discussed something before the show, and there's a statement you made that really, it felt right, that when you get a husband, your mother-in-law is also an answered prayer.
Yeah.
Please talk about that.
Definitely a mother-in-law is your answered prayer. Simply because if you want a husband, then this husband must have a mother.
Right.
And because this husband has a mother, you must also step in the shoe of your husband. And because the Bible says that a man and a woman are one, you also must be one with your husband to take good care of your mother-in-law.
So what are some practical steps a lady who's just about to get married can take? For example, is it okay to buy her a gift? Will that look like bribery so that you can have a good relationship?
No.
What are some practical things a lady can do?
I don't think we can call it bribery, Shira.
Yeah.
Because there's something in this life that love and kindness will always penetrate even to the hardest heart.
Right,
so some also mother-in-laws are not all of them are good. So you'll get that there are others who, of course, are opposing the relationship. But when you come with a gift, with the love, and shower her with gifts, at least there's a good reason why she can accept you. Right. And then she can remove her insecurities and her fears as a mom.
Right.
Because, you know, every other day in the media we hear of people who have killed each other. So this woman, of course, is insecure.
Yeah.
So you must prove to her that you are indeed that good woman who has come into the life of her son and also into the life of her as a person.
Right.
Yes.
I like that. So go ahead. It's okay to go ahead to buy gifts, to, you know, maybe even take her out once in a while, spend some time with her. That's you'd approve that.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to, you've gotten married, now you have an official mother-in-law, and let's say you start having problems with your husband, hamwelewani, you are bickering, what is the place of the mother-in-law? Should she come in and interject or offer advice or something? What is the place of the mother-in-law in such a situation?
I strongly feel battles between a husband and a son, a husband and a wife, a mother-in-law should not interfere.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, she'll be the one to be blamed. Because it's said that when two are in love, they are, well, let alone even if they fight, they will again reconcile.
Right.
But you see, the mother-in-law is now outside; they will not reconcile. And I also feel like when you bring out some issues about somebody's son, it might not be very kind to the mother-in-law. So that will be very difficult for the mother-in-law to handle. I think because they are psychological counselors, like I have said, if matters are worse, then I think you should seek for counseling.
And so not go to your
mother-in-law. And I also feel that's your stuff.
Yeah.
She has gone through her own stuff as well. So that's your stuff. So deal with it. I think we should be mature enough and separate our parents from what we go through. Because at the end of the day, we are the ones who know exactly what are we fighting off. Yeah, because sometimes even what we are fighting off is not what we are telling our mothers or our parents, you see. Maybe there's a personal inner thing that we are fighting about and we are not really telling our parents. And sometimes also you'll find that as a son you will lie. As a daughter-in-law you will lie, you see. So you leave that woman more wounded than before. And we want our parents to have peace, whether it's your own parent, or your own mom, or your mother-in-law. Yes.
I like what you said, that you not include, I mean, when you include your mother-in-law, sometimes you will hurt her because you're telling her a weakness that her son has. And that creates, whether we like it or not, some sort of bias, because this is her son. This is her son that she brought up.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is that we should not include the mother-in-law, and not just the mother-in-law, the parents, into your own marital problems, that you should sort it out. If you need to go to a counselor, then that's what you should do, and things of the sort.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the husband. Is there any role that the husband should play in making sure that his wife and his mother should have a good relationship? Is there any role that he plays?
Yeah, there should be a good role. He should be a role model. One, the husband should not be biased. So when he's dealing with the mother and he's also dealing with the wife, he must not be biased. He must understand each one of them. And also there's something that we do when we get married that we never really look at. It's about case study. Before you get married, do a case study of where you come from, of where your wife comes from, where your boyfriend comes from, and also who are your parents-in-law. That way you'll be able to understand them. So that when you get into this marriage and you have a conflict between you and your husband, I also don't think it's the right thing also the husband to go and tell the mother. That is not even her business. The business is you sort it out with your friends, you have best couple, you can address them or just go to a counselor. I think that's the best way. Otherwise you'll be biased and you'll bring even more rift in the marriage than it was before, because if the lady is the one who was wrong, she will feel like you are also biased, you know, like you are favoring the mom, which is not the case.
Let's create a situation here. Let's say the wife and the mother-in-law are bickering, or let's even make a more real situation where you've gone to visit home, or the mother-in-law has come to visit you, the both of you, and the mother does something to the wife, or that the wife does not approve in her own home. Should the husband come in to defend the wife? Or should because it's a very tricky situation. Should the husband come in to defend the wife, or should the husband come in to defend the mother?
Unless it's very extreme. Unless it's very extreme, I don't advocate that. Because at the end of the day, your mom is your mom and your wife is your wife, and you cannot separate the two. Because you love your mom equally and you love also your wife equally. And in this situation, I would say, even for you who is a wife, you should understand that you are not married by your mother-in-law. So whatsoever battle there is, the mother-in-law has the right to have that insecurity and fear. So prove your worth. Who are you? What are you? How do you behave as a daughter-in-law? And also make sure that you did not also come to this family to spoil the relationship between the mother and the son. Your job is to support them even more so that they can also continue living in a good relationship. In harmony. In harmony.
Now, there might be a woman who's watching and she's in a situation where she has already severed the relationship between herself and the mother-in-law. Maybe because something extreme happened and they no longer are in any relationship, that they no longer talk, they no longer do anything together. Is there advice that you can give her to help her to maybe get back to such a nice relationship with the mother-in-law? Or is it okay to just get to a point where you say, I no longer want any part with my mother-in-law?
Sometimes I wonder, why did Ruth have to follow Naomi even after the husband had died and the brother-in-law had died and the father-in-law? Because now Ruth had seen something beyond even death, that your mother-in-law has your destiny. Your mother-in-law has your answered prayer. She has something that God has set apart for you to live in her home, apart from now, your former home. So she's a very special person. She is a very special person. So you must take her seriously. And also a mother-in-law is a God-given order. That's why it's a mother-in-law. You see, which law?
Tell us about that. What do you mean by a God-given order?
Because it's not the Kenyan law that has told you to get married to a mother-in-law. It is God who said it is good for a man and a wife to live together in peace and in harmony, isn't it? So it's God's law. So whatsoever God gives you, we must preserve it. We must preserve it.
I like that.
We must preserve
so whatever relationship that you have with your mother-in-law, it is important to preserve that relationship no matter what. Right? So making sure that, you know, she's given us some advice at the very beginning of the show, things you can do to cultivate your relationship with your mother-in-law. So if you're there and you've gotten to a point where you've completely severed that relationship, I urge you to preserve that relationship, because that is the godly way, right? Now, culturally, we live in a cultural country, Kenya, and Africa has many cultures. But at the same time, we are Christians. Not even at the same time. First, we are Christians. So what if you get married in a culture where the things that you are supposed to do, maybe in your marriage or to your mother-in-law, go against your Christian beliefs, you know? I don't know how many cultures handle this, but there are some cultures who, the things that you are culturally supposed to do to show respect to your parents or to your mother-in-law, maybe going against what the Bible says. So how do you balance your Christian values and the cultural expectations that are set for you?
Do a case study. We normally don't do case study when we are looking for spouses. But it's good to know, you know, there are some cultures that are also too extreme.
Yeah.
And there's something we cannot do. We cannot omit the purpose of God in our lives.
Right.
That one we must take so seriously. We cannot omit that. So it's for you to know what the background is, what the culture is before you are involved.
Right.
But then if you are involved in it and you have started, then you have to give in. You have to give in to those pressures as much as you put a limit also, because you are a Christian. Yeah.
So you have to find a way to make sure that your Christian values take priority.
Oh yeah.
So that you can also, because your relationship with God is absolutely paramount.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
One more thing that I would like to touch on is when a woman has had a sour relationship with her in-laws, there's a tendency to transfer that to now her daughter-in-law or her son-in-law. How does a woman heal? You know, like for example, let's say you didn't have, God forbid, but thank God you did have a good relationship with your mother-in-law. Let's say you did not have a good relationship with your mother-in-law, and that creates bitterness because you're holding on to that, and now your son brings you a lady, and you now start transferring that, you know, bitterness to this woman because that's what you experience. So how does a woman who has had a sour relationship with her mother-in-law have a good relationship with her daughter-in-law?
I still insist. If your mother-in-law has an issue with you, I think it's also good to understand where is she coming from.
Okay.
Because of the same thing that I'd said earlier about the insecurities and fears. You also don't forget that even us who are married, the daughters-in-law, sometimes even us, we can be messy, you know.
Yeah.
We can be very, very provocative. And therefore, you'll find that your mother-in-law is not liking, or the way even you talk to your husband, who is the son, and the mother is there. Then there'll be those conflicts. So the best thing is that when the mother-in-law says something, it's also a good thing to learn from. If it's something negative, learn from it. And when you get a daughter-in-law, don't do what your mother-in-law is doing, because definitely it will hurt your daughter-in-law as well. Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about how it is the responsibility of the parents to teach their children, right? Because these are children that you're raising up. Eventually, even if they're 10 or a teenager or in their 20s, one day they'll get married and become an in-law to someone. What are some of the things that you would advise that as parents we should teach to our children, so that as they grow up and as they get into these marriages, they're able to be respectful to their in-laws? Because,
you know, like these days we are in town, and you'll get that you'll get married to a man who is from Mashambani.
Yeah.
You have never gone to the shamba.
Yeah.
You have never milked, and you'll get a husband who is, you know, from that farmer's family.
Yeah.
So my prayer is, and I have also something that I do with the children called personal development.
All right.
I do take the children through to teach them how we can live holistically, doing exactly everything, washing clothes from the age of 4, how they can be independent. Leave alone even the relationship between the mother-in-law. It is also very hard and very difficult for our children when they go outside the country, where there are no house helps and such like things. So it's very, very important for us to understand that we have to go that way of getting to understand each other. Yeah, and teaching our children the values of Christianity, the values of being holistic, and also the values of accepting where you have gone. If you get them, they are digging. It's written that it said that when you go to Rome, do
as the
Romans do. So when you go there, don't start saying that I'm from Tao,
Yeah.
I'm born Tao, I cannot do this, I cannot do the other. Just go and do what you can.
Yeah.
But I think it's also good for mothers-in-law to understand If your daughter-in-law is from town, she comes from, you know, the town, then don't put her into the shamba.
Yeah.
Let her wash the utensils, let her wash the
like
clothes, and let her do what she can,
Yeah.
because it's a mutual relationship.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't have much time left, but there's something I want to ask. You said you have a good relationship with your daughter-in-law. You even said your best friend, which is amazing. What are some of the things that you did to handle her? Like, how did you handle her when she came into your life? How did you feel, and how did you handle her? How did you speak with her so that you can get to a place where now you're best friends?
I want to be honest. My daughter-in-law has come from a broken marriage.
Okay.
So she lives with her mom. And because of that, I decided I'll step in and be her mother.
Wow.
A real mother to her. And give her that love, which maybe
she may not
have experienced. And I really make sure that she's comfortable, because she's the womb that God has given me, so that she can carry my generation,
yeah.
you see. So I respect her for that. I love her so dearly, and she knows it. Wajiro, wherever you are,
oh.
I love you so dearly, and you know it. You are my best friend, and we interact so very, very well. And sometimes we even backbite my son.
Ha!
Yes,
hey.
we do. We backbite my son and try to put things in order. And I also advise her as my own daughter, and I tell her, you know, men, you handle them like this. Girls, you handle them like this. You also should handle your father-in-law like this. I teach her.
So you basically become her mother, not even mother-in-law or mother-in-law. You are her mother.
My mother.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because you know you cannot, even if you are like now, Sheila, the way you are beautiful, you cannot be married by your brother.
Yeah,
it has to be somebody.
It has to be somewhere.
And this somebody somewhere. If you get you want a husband, he's a package.
Yeah,
he has a father. He has a father. He has a mother. Who are your in-law, sisters-in-law? You have to accept them. So whatever God offers as a daughter-in-law, then accept.
I love it when mother-in-laws become even closer with the daughter-in-law than with their own son. That shows a very healthy relationship. Yeah. It shows a very healthy relationship. We unfortunately are at the end of this show, so I want you to, in like a very few seconds, give your parting shot. What would you say to the viewer concerning this topic?
Let's love our mothers-in-law. They are very special. They are God-given gifts unto us. We do not choose who to get married to, but God ordered us that it's good to have a husband. If you have a husband, you have a mother-in-law. And do not forget that the mother-in-law is the womb that incubated your husband. So know that you are as a mother-in-law, she is the one to your generation will continue through her. So it's good to be aware of that and respect this woman. She's a special woman.
Amazing.
She's a very, very special woman.
Thank you so much for being here today and for helping us to maneuver this kind of relationship with your mother-in-law. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, we pray that you have learned something. Actually, we know that you have learned something concerning this topic. And so if you're there and you have a sour relationship with your mother-in-law, we pray that this relationship will be mended back together and that you'll continue to grow in this relationship. I've been your host, Sheila Juma, and please join me next time on The Virtuous Woman Show. Same time, same place. Have a great rest of your week.
I wanna live a virtuous